Xi has been very explicit that he intends to reunify China. Taiwan has like a ticking timeline of 2027.
What's your biggest concern in the world right now?
The assassin's mace story, which is like a parable in China, is, hide your strength, bide time, and then strike when you have an unfair advantage.
It doesn't sound like, in your opinion, we are ahead of China on much of anything. What's your biggest concern in the world right now?
China is a huge risk, not only militarily, but also economically. And I don't think we're taking that quite seriously enough. I think there's a political understanding of that. But it's not clear to me that there's like a level of seriousness to actually do the things that are required to reduce that risk across both of those two dimensions.
What do you think the things that are required to reduce that risk are?
Well, there's like the kind of impacts of Belt and Road, where you have natural resources, production, all of the things that are kind of economic drivers for growth in China that have been stripped out of the United States that we have to figure out some way to bring back. Like, do we actually have the ability to, acquire the raw materials that are needed even for the things that we want to build without going through China-controlled assets? Right now, the answer is no. Mm-hmm. That's a real problem. Militarily, I think, Xi has been very explicit that, he intends to reunify China, and Taiwan has like a ticking timeline of 2027. Now, is he going to move by 2027? Like, I don't know. That depends on how seriously you take him at his word. But there's, a lot of risk, particularly if you think about like even just semiconductors as an important part of our technology ecosystem. Like, if China takes Taiwan and shuts down our access to TSMC, like that's a huge problem for the U.S. economy. So we really need to like think through all of that. But the Chinese have a different cultural history than we do, and when you try to frame their actions through like a Western understanding of the world, you reach very different conclusions than they reach. Like, Western history is be open about your strength. And, this is where the peace through strength thing came from. It's like, we're going to tell people what we have and why we're strong, and that will prevent them from doing crazy things. The assassin's mace story, which is like a parable in China, is, hide your strength, bide time, and then strike when you have an unfair advantage. And so, it's to their advantage to go into these international dialogues and say like, oh no, we're weak. We're not competing. We don't have the ability to do that. Like, we want to be part of these discussions, and we actually listen to them, and we're making decisions based on believing that. But their entire moral background in the way that they think about these things is very different than even like the, nursery rhymes that have led to creating Western culture. And so I think we have to start looking at them through the right lens in order to make the right strategic decisions to prepare for the worst.
Do you feel like that's starting to happen?
I feel like people are definitely taking it more seriously than they did even 5 years ago. When we started Anduril in 2017, we were telling the story to investors. Like, we believe that the future of national security is near peer conflict. Like, this is about great powers. Like, we're moving out of counterterrorism. That was 8 years ago. And It was super weird to even be telling that story. And today I feel like, no one's confused about this anymore. Obviously we could talk about the withdrawal from Afghanistan and how terrible that was. But no one believes that nation building and counterterrorism is like the thing that we should be focusing on anymore.
Yeah. Definitely with you on that. I mean, at breakfast, we were talking about, it doesn't sound like, in your opinion, we are ahead of China on much of anything.
I think we're more innovative. Like, the entrepreneurial energy that we have is a tremendous advantage. We're really good at software as a country. We're the best in the world at building these software capabilities. There are a lot of things that are really important that they have massive advantages on. And
what?
like production. They have entire factories that do autonomous production of cruise missiles, for example. They're just way ahead of us on that. Also, all the natural resources stuff, the Belt and Road strategy, for better or worse, was a genius play by them to go and scoop up access to all of the raw materials. And we just watched them do it.
I know, man.
And I think that we put ourselves in this situation where, we have to start making these crazy bets in order to figure out our way around the supply chain that has been created over the last 30 years by a very effective Chinese strategy.
Do you think that they will, do you think they will take Taiwan kinetically?
This is the question with Xi. It's like he has said that he's going to reunify, and there's a question about like how important that is to his ability to continue ruling if he doesn't stick to his word. But I think we should take him seriously. He says he's going to do it. Of course, there's like some edge case that Taiwan doesn't object and just lets it happen. That means that they won't go into a military conflict, but I would rate that as a pretty low probability. And so, they've got a short timeline to get their stuff together to be able to credibly deter Chinese aggression. And so that's kind of the small window that we're in right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I went over there, and interviewed the vice president. Very enlightening interview. I've been really worried about it too, and I think that is what could trigger, World War III. But man, when she started talking about the cognitive warfare and the psyops and the propaganda and stuff that's going on there, and how divided it actually is, and when I learned more about the actual history of China, Taiwan, I don't know if they're going to have to take it kinetically. They're doing a phenomenal job at dividing and just. Yeah. If that other party takes over, it's done. Not a shot fired.
Yep. That is the optimal case for China, obviously, is that they can use soft power means to just do it kind of in the way that they did Hong Kong. And I don't think there's a 0% probability that that's the way that it goes down. So.
Yeah. Yeah. What else about China is bothering you? How ahead are they on manufacturing and AI?
They have like 250 times the shipbuilding capacity that we have. That's like a huge problem for us being able to keep up militarily. We've gutted our entire industrial base in the United States in service of globalization for economic optimization, and China has been the primary beneficiary of that transition. I think that they're so much better suited to addressing these like long running problems with making things in the real world than we are. One of the things that we often hear at Founders Fund, we often hear hardware builders talk about is that even if you had unlimited money and you were going to set up a factory in the United States to build something that is currently being built in China, you wouldn't even be able to operate the factory. Because like the skill that's required to make these things with high yields and quality, it's all in China. Like we don't even have people in the United States that like know how to run these machines. And so we have to figure out some way to rescale. And I think autonomy in factory work is going to be a big part of this as well. And it's actually a great argument for why we should be leaning more into AI rather than less from a jobs perspective, because the alternative to leveraging modern software in order to reindustrialize is just continuing to outsource to foreign countries. And I don't think we have the time or the economic will to make a different decision on that fact. Like we need to push as hard as we can.
Are there any other countries that you're concerned about other than China? Are you concerned about Russia, India? No matter where you're watching Sean Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.